Welcome to Get Paid for Your Pad podcast number 336. Today we're going to talk about something really, really important. We're going to talk about how you can optimize your photo gallery. And I have an expert in photography. I'm going to introduce her. Her name is Vicki Fisher, and she's got a long list of achievements and titles and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to go through it real quick. She has a degree in architecture, interior design, master degree in photography. She's been Airbnb photographer, Airbnb plus photographer, and quality inspector for about 8 years. She's done over 3,000 homes. So she is an expert when it comes to photography. And Vicki is going to explain to us today how we can create amazing photos, how we can do the staging so that the photos look great, but also so that the photos will help the viewer visualize the experience that they can have in your place, which is what it's all about. And also she's going to talked about how to take great pictures with your smartphone. So Vicki actually wrote a book on this topic, and the title of the book is Smartphone Airbnb Photography Guide. She just recently published it. So Vicki, long intro, but welcome to the show.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Nice to be here.
Yeah, I'm very excited to have you on because photos are the most important part of the listing. I think everybody understands that, everybody knows that, but still, as I go through Airbnb listings, I still see a lot of photo galleries that either have blurry photos or the photos, they don't fit well, they're the wrong resolution and they're cut off, or the photos aren't good because the staging isn't good. There's either clutter lying around or whatever it may be. So we're going to go through exactly how you can compose the perfect photo gallery. And it all starts with the staging. And Vicki, I know that when you were a Airbnb Plus photographer, and I guess you still are, right?
Yes.
You still are,
well,
right?
the program is on hold now, the Plus, but the Airbnb marketplace is still going, and I'm still with them. I'm not shooting right now because of the coronavirus thing. That we're all going through the same things, but yeah, I'm still working with them.
You still work. And how long have you been an Airbnb photographer?
Since 2011, yeah, so 10 years almost.
3,000 homes. That's really incredible.
Over 2,000, yeah. I photograph in places like Brazil, Spain, Italy, France, even Morocco. I photograph them. I would travel and then I would stay at Airbnb because I'm also a host as well.
Right.
But I was allowed to traveling. So I would just stay in a place and they had like terrible photos. So I would talk to the host like, hi, do you mind if I'm staying there? I take some photos for you, to upgrade this. They were like super happy. That was a nice way to travel and make some money.
Yeah, for sure. No, that's awesome. And you're a host in Barcelona, here in Barcelona. We both live in Barcelona.
Yes. Yeah.
That's right. How long have you been hosting for?
I've been hosting for the last 6 years. That's the time I've been living in my new, not so new now apartment. And I do home share because I live here. So I have an extra room. And people can come and stay with me, with my dog Chili. So if anyone wants to come to Barcelona, it's a nice place to stay.
They can stay with you. Okay. Anybody who wants to come to Barcelona, check out the show notes on the Get Paid for Your Pad blog. You'll see a link to Vicki's Airbnb listing, and you can stay with Vicki. And then while you're staying there, you should pick her brain on your photos, right? Show her your listing, and then she can give you some tips. So that way, it's going to be a fun but also a very productive trip. So let's dive in. So I think the first thing that people often forget when they either schedule a professional photography shoot or when they take the pictures themselves, I think they forget to really take the time to stage the apartment well. So can you explain a little bit what does that mean, staging, and what are the most important things that people should pay attention to when they are preparing their units for the photo shoot?
So the first thing they should do, which I always do, is like whenever I get a request for photos, I write the host, of course, and then I give him like a list of simple things that he can do to prepare the space, which is not the staging yet, it's just the basic repairs, like, of course, clean the windows, the glasses, open all the windows, the blinds, because you want the light to come in. make the bed. Seems obvious, but so many people don't make the bed, and then like cannot shoot like this. It looks like someone was just sleeping here. Don't want to show that to a guest. No, it's not very attractive. Also declutter the kitchen and all those things, and close the toilet lid, please. Rule number 1 should be close the toilet lid in every photo. And then there comes the staging. So staging is it's not like decorating the space. It's just using some props. We call props some objects to make it feel more homey and more appealing, and give you a little more like humanity. So you want the guests, when you see your photos, you want them to look at them and see, could be me here. So little things like a glass of wine in a bottle, or if you have like a balcony table, just take that so you can imagine himself just sitting there having a glass of wine after a long day walking. A nice, like an open book in a recliner, or in a nice reading nook, or even in the bed. Some things like this, or like a hat in a bed, like he just came for the beach, or just going to the beach. Things that give the idea of emotion, things that give the idea that it could be you in this place. This could be like a preview of your holidays.
Yeah, and I love that, because what you really want to do is you want to help the viewer visualize the experience that they can have at your place. And so the way you describe it in the book is you want to make it look like there was somebody just there, and that person just left, right? So there's either an open book on the table, or there is a coffee cup or a glass of orange juice. You always want to make the table before you take a picture. So these are really important things that I think a lot of people forget when they take their pictures. Now, I think one thing that's really important to remember also is that you don't want to have too much personal stuff, right? You don't want to have personal stuff lying around. So there's a fine line, and this is something that you describe in your book very well. You have a lot of pictures where you give examples, but there's a fine line between having some items and props, as you call them, in the space to help people, visualize that experience. But at the same time, you want to leave a lot of open space as well, right? So how can we find that fine line, that balance between having some units, having some objects, but not so many?
So the first thing is that you don't want to. So when you're styling a place, the idea is that you're creating scenes. It's about storytelling. So you want to tell a story that something was going on here, and that's the thing. Like if someone just here but just left and you took a picture, but you don't want it to look like you're just passing someone else's spaces. So you don't want to show like their shoes on the floor, or their like a t-shirt, or anything. You want some things that can be used also as decorative things. So like hats, maybe as sunglasses or reading glasses. Things that don't look too personal.
Right.
Imagine like when you're reading a magazine about home decor, pay attention to which props they usually use. They're not going to use something really personal, something like this. One thing that sometimes can be a little complicated are electronics. You can put an iPad, something because everybody, or a Kindle reader or something like that. But sometimes if you put like a computer with the screen on, it looks like I just interrupted someone who was working. Or some people actually, it happened to me that people thought that, so the owner wanted to be like, have a computer because they have a working space and only rent for executives. So he wanted to have the computer it's like, I don't think it's a good idea. And then someone rented the place and there was no computer. They're like, where's the computer? You didn't bring one? That's just for station. No, I thought I was going to be here able to work because there was a computer. So there are some things like this that you have to be careful about, some kind of props that you shouldn't use. Some you can, and also about you don't want to accessorize too much the space because you want to still feel like clean and visually not too busy. Like if you're accessorizing a table, a dining table, or a coffee table, you have to see the surface. Keep some space where you can see the surface. So one thing that I sometimes do is just you don't know, you're not sure what to put. So you have some candles, you have some flowers, you have some books. You just put everything there. And then you take a picture with your phone, because the phone seems different than the eye. And then you see, this looks too cluttered. Then you take off a few things, 1, 2, 3. Groups of 3s always work. 3 objects always look good. because one just looks a little lost, like this poor candle over there, like alone. So just use like groups of trees and just go changing and taking photos, because the good thing about phones is that you can take many photos testing. And it's not like when you had analogic that you had like those 12 shots and that was it, until you find what looks good.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good idea. And I love what you just said. You said the phone has a different eye than we do, right? It looks different things look different on a picture. And so I think people are probably biased to having too many things on the tables. And so if you put some things on the table, you take a picture with your smartphone and you see what it looks like, and then probably you want to remove, when in doubt, you probably want to remove one or two items, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's something that we use when women are accessorizing as well. We just put all your bangles and your rings, and then before you're leaving, you just stop again in front of the mirror and remove a few things, and that looks better.
That's funny. Awesome. So just to summarize, the staging is really important. So you really, obviously, you have to get the basics down. You want to make sure everything looks clean, remove all the personal items. One of the things that you say in the book as well is remove anything that's not decorative, right? And what you mean by decorative things are things that you just mentioned that actually look good in the photos. And then, make sure to leave a few things, and especially the things that can help the viewer visualize the experience that they can have in the unit. And I think, and I already said this a couple times, but I just think this is so important. I think it's the number one thing that's missing in most Airbnb listings, is really to help that person visualize that experience. Most people, their mindset, I think, when it comes to photos is they just haven't, their mindset is, hey, we just need to take some pictures of the space. We need to show the space, right? They don't really think about the experience. So that's really, really important. Let's move on to the actual photos. Now, I know you have a whole section on, how can you take great photos with your smartphone? But before we dive into that, let's talk about how many photos do you need? Because I know in your book you have a checklist as well that people can use to make sure they have the right amount of photos. So how many photos do we need? Do we need one photo per space or multiple photos per space?
So this is always a suggestion, because every house is going to be different. Every property is different, of course. But what I like to do, first thing, I always take more pictures than the ones that I'm going to use in the end, because with digital photography, you just have so much freedom, that so much possibility. So you can take a lot of pictures, then you're going to choose the ones that you like. For really small spaces, they're not the main space in the house, like a bathroom. 1-2 pictures is fine, unless you have like a really luxurious bedroom with this amazing tub or something and a rainforest, rain shower, whatever, something like this. And then you want to, because those are really special features, so you want to take more pictures of that. But it's just like a normal bedroom, 1 photo, 2 photos is fine. Then other spaces like bedrooms, I always try to take photos for different angles, so can people have a good 3D idea of the space, because it's important that you give this idea of, so they can visualize the space through the photos. Sometimes, it's horrible when you see, oh, this is such a nice room, and then you get that and it's really small. You get disappointed, and you don't want this feeling of, when people are staying at your fucking Toronto, you want everything to be perfect. You want them to be like, wow, this is actually better than in the pictures. So be clear in the photos. You don't want to lie in the photos. You don't want to make it what is not, but be clear. So for angles, shoot for like 1, 2, 3, or 5 angles. Well, not 5 angles, 4 angles. And then 1 frontal. I always like to do 1 frontal, like frontal facing the bed or facing the couch or something like that. So you can have idea, like different views, and always with the staging. Don't forget to stage, so it looks better. Yeah, that's the thing. Like you can see what looks better. You can take a lot of photos, and then you can choose the ones that you like most. There's no rule, but like this, the idea is that if someone is looking at your place, they can have a good idea of the space without being there in person. That's the most important thing.
Sure, and I have your checklist right in front of me, actually, here from your book. So I'm just going to go through it just to give people an idea how many photos per space you recommend. So of course we start with the cover photo, right? The featured image, the one that's going to show up in your search snippet.
The hero shot.
The hero shot. Yeah, we'll talk a little bit
hero
more.
Shot.
Yeah, the hero shot. We'll talk a little bit more about that photo because obviously that's a really important one. But here's the list that you recommend. So one cover photo, one photo of the exterior, the facade. I think that's important too because people want to know what they're getting into. And I have, for my properties, I have a photo of the entrance as well. So that it's very clear to people, oh, this is the house, this is where I go in. Because people want to know exactly what they're getting into, right? So I think that's an important one that some people tend to miss. Then one photo of the hall of the entrance, 2 to 4 of the living room, and one should be a detail shot. 1 or 2 photos of the dining room, 2 to 4 general photos, and 1 detail photo of the bedrooms, and 1 to 2 photos of the bathroom, and then 2 to 5 photos of the garden/patio. Right, and then if you have any other spaces, whether that's a parking, entryway, elevator, game room, or whatever it may be, then you can add a photo of each of those. One thing I'm curious about, you say for the garden patio, 2 to 5 photos. Sounds like that's quite a lot. Is that because the outdoor space is so important as part of the listing?
Yeah, I think it is. Like if you have an outdoor space, that's an extra to sell, because it's really good to be able to sit outside, in a good climate, everything. So I think that's really important, and it's a high selling point, So it's nice. And usually, like you can, it's so well. In my opinion, as a photographer, I love photographing outdoor spaces, gardens. You can have so much nice angles. You can tell a story, photographing a garden. You can actually make people feel like, oh, this looks so nice, and like you're working in your office, like dreaming about your holidays, and it's just like walls and fluorescent lights and all that, and you just look at those photos of this lushy green garden. Maybe you have a hot tub or something. You immediately gonna be like, wow, I want to be here. So that's why I think it's so important. If you have another space, like to really highlight those things. One thing that I didn't put there, but actually it's like you don't have to shoot. We don't. Airbnb doesn't publish those photos when you shoot, and we don't shoot unless it's really designed. Laundry room. You don't need to photograph a lot because usually they're not very photogenic, not very beautiful, and you can just put on the amenities list that you have laundry and dryer. So that's not something that you need to photograph. You usually don't publish that. And what else? Garage. You can say there is a garage, but if it doesn't look also super clean, there's no need to actually take a photo of the insides of the garage, or just like with the closed door of the garage, so people can see that they have parking space. But try to photograph what looks nice. You don't have to photograph everything. You can talk about it in the description and in the amenities.
Yeah, and one thing I find very useful about your book as well is you actually have a floor plan. And by the way, that's something that I always recommend to people, to put a floor plan of your unit on your listing. But you included a floor plan where you've put the little camera icons in the places where you would recommend people. Yeah, where you recommend people to take a photo. So that's really useful because I think, for myself, if I take photos of a place, I always wonder, like, oh, should I stand in this corner? Should I stand in this corner? What are the different angles? So having that floor plan with all the camera icons is very very useful. Let's move on to the cover photo, right? That's obviously the most important photo. You called it the hero shot. Can you tell us, like, what is a good cover photo? What should it be showing?
So a cover photo, it's the first photo that people see, and they're usually gonna be, when you're just browsing to apartment, it's gonna be just a thumbnail size. So it has to be a photo that doesn't have too many things going on, because it's gonna see it smaller. So it has to be appealing. Doesn't have to be like too busy. And this is the photo it has to be really eye-catching, because people they're browsing, they're gonna have 3 to 8 seconds looking at each photo, if they don't open your listing. Now, in between all those sea of apartments, you want people to look at this one tiny photo of yours and think, wow, I want to see this one better, So good ideas of cover photos are, well, first the space that's more interesting about your house, what makes it unique. If you have like a really unique facade, or if you have like a beautiful garden, a swimming pool, a jacuzzi, or just your bedroom is super cozy, is a bedroom that people would see in Pinterest and say like, I want to paint this, like that's dreamy bedroom. Or like a really nice living room, with a couch. You want to do something that's going to be like really appealing. And usually for cover photos, frontal shots work better than corner shots. So you're going to want to try to shoot something that is facing the wall frontally, not for a 25 angle. It's clearer for the eyes. For see that something like that, unless it's a garden, then it doesn't matter so much.
Right. So the cover photo should show something that stands out, that's unique about your listing, should be one of your most attractive features. For example, my place in Colombia, I've got the photo of the roof terrace because that's the one thing that people love most about my apartment. And then also, I think it's a good idea to choose your featured image, choose your cover photo, and then try to find your own listing in the search results, in the Airbnb search results, and see what it looks like compared to all the other listings that are in your neighborhood.
That's a great tip.
Yeah, because in the end of the day, what you said is very true. Like when you search on Airbnb, you're gonna be shown, a whole number of listings, right? Depending whether you use the map functionality or not, you're gonna see a number of listings, and you only have a few seconds to really grab the attention of the viewer and turn that viewer into a guest. And so your featured image on that page, it should really stand out. Whether it's a different colors, like for example, if everyone is showing a living room in your neighborhood as their cover photo, then maybe you want to show a picture of the view, right, with the blue sky or something, because that's immediately going to pop and that's immediately going to attract the attention of the viewer. And the only real purpose of your cover photo is to get people to click on your listing and check it out. Right. And then you go from there. Right. And then the second, the third photo, every photo has to add something of value, show something new, show something attractive that the viewer keeps going through the photos. And eventually they see so much.
They're sold.
Yeah, they're sold. They see so many things that they want to do. They see, sitting on the balcony and having a glass of wine, the cozy, the living room with the Netflix on the TV. They can envision themselves just lying on the couch and watching Netflix and stuff like that. So that's really how you want to think about it. Let's move on to the smartphone. Tips for your smartphone, right? Because right now, obviously, we're in this Corona crisis and people might not want to have somebody over at their home to shoot photos. And just to be clear, your book is about how to take great pictures with your smartphone, but you still recommend that people get a professional photographer, right?
Yeah, so I wrote this book because, let me tell you a little about myself besides what you told, because I live in Barcelona. I'm a host myself. I'm a photographer. So when we went into lockdown on March 13, was a Friday the 13th. I'll never forget that. Ironic. And so even before that, Airbnb had already forbidden us photographers to shoot because of the coronavirus. We could not work. We're still not allowed to be back to work for them. We got emails saying that, we couldn't do it because of safety reasons. And I had all my bookings canceled. I had people who were coming to stay here. It's good season for me, so everything was canceled. And I was just home, going crazy, what can I do? So I had this idea. I started with not renewing my house, but just redecorating some things and all that wall that people will always walk by with the strollers and I always have to repaint it. So I'm that's a good time to work on my, on my house, so then I can have guests again. It's going to look nice. And then I said, like, okay, so I'm going to take some new pictures. I have my camera here. But one day I was just with my phone and I take a picture and like, oh, that looks really nice. Then I said, like, oh, you know what? I can help people, help other hosts like me who are just in home, who have lost their income, their bookings. So I wrote this book so you can enjoy this time, this forced break, to work on your house, on your listing, give it some love. I give some home decor tips on the book also because I'm an architect. Really easy ones, things that you don't have to spend a lot of money, just some details that are really gonna bring some new life for the place. Give it a new look, a new vibe. And then, of course, sometimes you can call a photographer right now. So I teach how to use your own cell phone. It doesn't have to be a new model, the best on the market. You're going to see my book, some photos I took with a Samsung S7, the old one that I have, and they look great. Some smartphones have come such a long way nowadays. You can take amazing pictures of them. And the idea is that, in the book I teach you how to redecor your place, give you some tricks and some things that you can do to actually make it look better, and then style for the photos, and then take photos using your phone with the features that your phone have. You don't have to use anything else. You don't have to download any extra apps. You don't have to pay for anything. Just with your phone has. And that's the idea. So I could help hosts out there. But yes, you should always fire a photographer when this is over, because even with amazing phones, and there are some amazing ones nowadays, the experience, the eye, the equipments that we have, all the years that we put into it, it's not going to be the same. So yeah, when you are back on your feet, call a photographer, a professional one. Don't leave us out of job.
Yeah, for sure. But let's dive into some of the actual tips that you have for how people can use their smartphone to at least get some decent photos, right? Because when I take a photo with my smartphone, it just never really looks good. So I know you put a lot of tips in there. So let's go through some actual tips that people can use.
Okay, I think tip number one that is going to make a lot of difference when you're photographing your space with a smartphone, and something that I see a lot of people do even when they're taking photos of people, and that's. So I know it's going to be your first instinct to take your phone and do like this and put it an eyesight, because like when you see things, you're seeing things and they look fine. So I'm just going to put your phone here and do the same. But like I say, like the camera of a smartphone is different. It sees different. So if you take it, especially if you're tall, if you're not really short, it's going to look like you're going to have too much ceiling or too much floor, or you're going to tilt the camera and everything is going to be distorted. So you don't want to do that. You actually want to shoot with your phone lower, around like the doorknobs height, or your belly button height, because that's the height that you use when you're shooting with a camera. And you're going to have much more balance between floors and ceilings. And don't tilt the phone, because that's going to create distortion. Try to put it vertical, parallel to the walls and perpendicular to the floor, because then you're not going to cause distortion of the lines. So that's like thing number one to do. Also, another thing that's really important and people forget a lot: clean the lenses of your phone. Sometimes I say, my photos don't come out good, and it's like it's all blurry. My phone is not good. It is. Just clean the lenses. Because you're always touching it, and then you don't realize it's actually really dirty. So just like with your t-shirt or anything, just clean it and you're going to see the difference.
Yeah, those are good tips. That definitely happened to me, where the lens ended up being dirty. So just to clarify, because this is we're recording this on video. If you're listening to this, you can watch these podcast episodes on YouTube, so you can actually see us if you want to. But you're talking about the height of the iPhone, right? So most people, when they take a picture, their natural instinct is to hold it in front of their face. And you're saying that's typically too high, so you wanna put the phone on the level of your belly button, more or less. You don't want to tilt it, because that kind of distorts the lines. And then the other thing is, you want to make sure you have a good balance between the ceiling and the floor, so that it's balanced. You don't see a whole lot of the ceiling or a whole lot of the floor. And then also you want to make sure that you shoot straight or from 45-degree angles.
Yes.
I'm just reading these from your book right now.
You're going to give all my book away.
Well, I can tell that there's a lot more that there's no way we can cover even 25% of the book, because it's actually very, very elaborate. You really went out of your way to include a lot of information. So I think we'd need about 2.5 or 3 hours to really go through all the tips. But anyway, we're 30 minutes in already. So why don't you tell people where they can find your book?
So you can find my book at the website smartphonephotoguides.com. I think Jasper is going to put the link after. And actually, I wanted to say something special. I wanted to give you all from the community a special discount so you can buy the book. So Jasper is also going to put the code, right, Jasper?
Yeah.
So you can buy the book with a 25% discount.
25% discount.
Yeah, 25%, yes.
All right, that's awesome.
We're feeling generous today.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and the book is. My idea was to do a very visual, illustrated book. So I'm talking about photography and talk about architecture, decor, styling. So it doesn't make sense to do a book that is a lot of writing, a lot of text. So there are some text, of course, but there are also a lot of images. So it's an easy to read book, because I want it to be really self-explanatory, also very didactic.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of images in there. And that's actually, I think, one of the most valuable parts of it, is where you're literally showing in the photos, you're explaining all the concepts, like the rule of the thirds, which we didn't get into, but it's very easy to understand once you see it in action, because I've always been a little bit confused about that. But yeah, so people can get 25% discount. Your book, what does a book cost? 10 euros, is it?
Yeah, 9.90.
Right, got it. So smartphonephotoguides.com.
Smartphonephotoguides.com.
All right, I'm gonna put a link in the show notes on getpaidforyourpad.com, so you can go check out the show notes. The link will be in there. You get 25% discount. I highly recommend the book. I read it entirely. And which I wasn't planning on doing, honestly. I was going to skim through, but then it really caught my attention. So I ended up reading the whole book. What's the code that people can use to get the 25% discount?
It's right. You write me. Just a second.
Yeah,
it's PAD.
Okay, so the code to get your 25% discount is PAD. PAD. That's a code that I tend to use for a lot of the special deals that we have at Get Paid for Your Pad. It's easy. PAD. PAD. All right, sweet. Well, thank you so much, Vicki, for sharing your knowledge, and congratulations with the publishing of your book. And I hope in the future a lot of people will come and stay with you here in beautiful Barcelona once the borders open up. It's going to be a beautiful summer for sure. It's already nice and warm. The sun is shining almost every day. So a lot of reasons for people to come down here to Barcelona. So thank you so much.
Yeah.
And the listeners, thank you for listening to this podcast episode, and see you in the next one. Bye-bye.
Thank you, guys. Bye.